Hi, Jesse here with eTrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at and installing the Demco Invisible Base Plate on our 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee. There's 5 main components to consider when setting your vehicle up for flat tow. Starting here with the base plate, that's going to be the structural mounting point for your next component, which is the tow bar. That's just your link from vehicle to motorhome. Then your diode wiring, that's going to take the tail light signals, send them through the vehicle, just so drivers around you know what you're doing. Next is the braking system. That's going to ensure that your vehicle comes to a controlled stop and you're not just relying on the brakes on your motorhome. And last will be the safety cables, which is just your last resort in case of a catastrophic disconnect. This is what the base plate looks like with the tow bar uninstalled. You can also remove these arms. Just take the pin out, quarter turn, pull it out. And the kit also includes these caps. Just looks better and also ensures that no dirt or debris can get inside that hole there. We did have to do some trimming to the bumper here. These ones for the arms are pretty easy. There's a pretty obvious spot that I had to cut out. And then when you come to the 6-pole, the base plate did come included with this bracket, which I mounted onto the bumper beam. And then I added a bracket onto the side here for your breakaway switch. Hooking up our tow bar here, slide this arm in, give it a quarter turn, slide your pin through the hole, lock that. And we'll take our tow bar. And this base plate will work with almost any tow bar that you may have. Today we're working with a Blue Ox. Just keep in mind, if you have another brand, double check and make sure you don't need an adapter. If you do, those are available here at eTrailer. Slide my pin in. Lock that down. Now for safety cables, these holes are pretty small, so this large clevis style, it's pretty difficult to get in. It will lock in, but I think another style might be a lot easier. As for the install, for a base plate, it's really on the simpler side. It does involve removing the fascia and some pieces beneath it and then trimming that fascia. So if it's something that you're not ready to tackle yourself, feel free to check out our dealer locator. However, if you are ready to go ahead and do this yourself, then feel free to follow along our video and I'll show you how. Our first step is going to be to remove these rivets which hold this fender on. It's a good idea to have the wheel turned out of your way. I just have a small drill bit here. We're going to be drilling through the center of these 2 rivets. Drill through the center of this. And then it should come out with the drill bit. Once you drill the center out, you may have to get another tool just to pull it out. And don't worry about these, you can throw them away. The kit comes with brand new ones. We have a 10mm bolt here that we'll remove. Now we'll pull this fender out. It's just held in by clips now that we remove those rivets. We'll get it popped up just so we can get it out of the way. And I like to shove some shop rags in there, or you can use some foam or anything else. It'll just ensure that it's out of our way. I ran some tape along here just to ensure that we're not scratching the vehicle when we remove the fascia. Also put some tape on these tabs just in case this moves around. It's not going to scratch anything. We got everything out of our way on this side, and then I'll repeat that process on the other side. Now we're under the hood. We have 2 push fasteners that we need to remove. So I have my clip tool here. Pop that center out. And then sometimes you can pull up and just pop that fastener out. It's just going to stay there. Get this other side. Pull up. There is a tab under here that you'll have to pull up also. Underneath the vehicle, we have 5 quarter turn fasteners. There's going to be 2 on each side and then 1 in the middle. Go ahead and work my way around. You just turn a quarter turn and then they should pull out. It's always a good idea to have an extra set of hands around to help you with this part. We're going to pull this fascia off. So we'll just start on the edge. Just pop all these clips loose. Work my way around. So it helps to lift up from the bottom because there's two tabs here that are kind of fighting us. Once we get it pulled out, we're going to check to see if there's any wires that we need to unplug, which it looks like there is a fog light here. This is another reason why it's a good idea to have an extra set of hands, because you don't want to be holding this fascia by yourself and then have to unplug these. And then we'll set that aside. In our instructions, it says to remove an air dam down here, which it seems we do not have on this model. And it also says to remove tow hooks, which we also don't have. So moving on, the next step will be to remove this bolt that holds this wheel well in. That's just to give us access to our mounting point. We'll start removing this foam covering here. Just make sure you get the wiring harness unhooked from it. And there will be two push pins, one on each side. Remove those with your tool. We'll set that aside. To remove this center grill support, there's just two 10mm bolts. Remove those. We have 3 bolts that we're going to remove from the bumper support. This one's a 10mm. These two are 13mm. Before we remove our last 2 bolts, I'm going to just finger tight this bolt. That way when we get the final 2, we have something to support this bumper beam. Now we have 2 final bolts holding this beam in place. Just remove those. Now before we drop this bumper off, I'm just going to get this wiring harness, make sure it's out of the way, and remove these final 2 bolts. And just make sure these 2 rods don't go into the radiator there. Drop this straight down and set it aside. Now before we throw our base plate up, it's a good idea to clean out your threaded holes here. I have a wire brush, so I'll just run that through there. And after that, I like to just make sure my bolt will thread in. I'm going to pre-Loctite all these bolts. The blue Loctite is included in the kit. With the help of my friend Ryan here, we're going to lift the base plate into place. Just going to push it back and get these forwardmost bolts started. If you're having issues gaining access to those rear bolts, it's a good idea to drop the skid plate down. Get that out of your way because we will be torquing those bolts down later, so it just makes everything easier. While getting all those bolts installed, we did run into an issue where we had a clearance issue on this hole in the passenger front. I just brought a burr bit to it and walled it out a bit, and then that bolt slid right into place. Now that all the bolts are started and they're ran down, we're ready to torque them to the specification listed in the instructions. Now we need to install these safety cables. These are just in case of a catastrophic disconnect. These are our last resort to hold everything together. So we just want to ensure that we have it wrapped around the base plate here, and then a structural part of the vehicle, which I'm going to use this beam here. So slide it under and wrap it around. You also need to keep in mind that you need to stay away from any lines like these AC lines right here. Get that there. Get your included clip. Tighten that down. And then we can figure out a way to get that out of the way, get it zip tied so we don't have to worry about it hitting any of the metal pieces. Now that everything's mounted up, we installed those safety cables. I went ahead and reinstalled the bumper beam and this grille support, just the reverse order of the way we took them off. The fascia is still off the vehicle because we do have some trimming to do just to make sure everything fits. In the meantime, we are going to go ahead and set up some wiring for some other flat toe components like a braking system and some diodes. So once we have that wrapped up, we will come back. I'll show you what trimming we had to do on the fascia, and we'll get everything fitted on. With everything back together, that's going to do it for our look at and installation of our Demco tabless base plate for our 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited.